I was recently reflecting on some of the language learning practices that I regularly do, and I found that it's all too easy to occasionally get a bit lazy with them. For example, I might find myself checking my phone when I'm trying to read an article in Chinese, or as I'm going through my Anki flashcards, I'm listening to music at the same time, not really 100% engaged in what I'm doing. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about what the problem is and how we can go about solving it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Will. I'm a medical student based in the UK and I really love learning Mandarin Chinese. I've now reached a pretty decent level in Mandarin Chinese and just trying to share how I did so on this channel. So if you're interested, make sure to subscribe and stay up to date on all my latest videos. This video is actually inspired by a book called Deep Work by Cal Newport. And I definitely recommend you check this book out if you're interested. Alright, let's get into the video. A few of the practices I mentioned earlier are what Cal Newport would call shallow work. I'm not engaging 100% in the language or with what I'm doing. At best, I'm getting somewhat distracted, and at worst, I'm doing a bad attempt at multitasking. All of this means that I wasn't getting the best bang for my buck in terms of time investment, and obviously as a medical student with limited time to study languages, that's really important for me. So what I realised was, with all my time that I'm spending language learning, I need to be using as much of it as possible to engage in what's called deep work. So what would deep work look like in the world of language learning? I'm not sure there's a real clear definition here, but for me personally, some of the things that I consider to be quite deep work for me when I'm learning Mandarin are going through my Anki cards, doing sentence mining and trying to make new sentences, trying to use the process of what's called elaboration, so connecting things, new things that I'm learning to things that I previously know. So I might be using like an old sentence structure that I already know and incorporating some new words that I'm learning at the time using Anki. Another great example would be having a meaningful conversation with native speakers. So for me personally, like when I was doing those podcasts in Mandarin, or when I do interviews with Chinese teachers, or if I'm just having a really good chat with a friend, if that's in Mandarin, for me, again, I would consider that deep work. Finally, actively reading a book or an article in the target language, whereby I'm constantly assessing my level of comprehension, asking myself questions in the language about what I'm reading to try and increase my retention and make sure that I'm engaging fully. Again, this is another activity that I would suggest is as close to deep work as you can get in language learning. So the gist of this is deep learning in general is quite cognitively demanding and even quite tiring to some extent. However, the effort that you put in is giving you a really good return on the time that you're putting in. So the effort you're putting in is giving you a really good return in terms of what you're learning and how much you're learning and your retention of what you're learning. So from what I understand of Cal Newport's work, there's a few prerequisites for something to be considered deep work. So firstly, it has to be deliberate practice of something. It can't be just something very passive. It's got to be active. You're actively trying to get better at something using methods that are often quite cognitively demanding. So just to go back to the examples that I gave earlier, when I'm reading a book in Mandarin and I'm then, after I finish reading a section, quizzing myself on what I've just read, not only is helping improve my reading comprehension, it's also improving like my reading fluency in general and retention of what I'm reading. Alternatively, when I was just starting out learning Mandarin, speaking to native speakers whereby I only use Mandarin and didn't slip back into my native tongue really helps me to get comfortable and used to that, and it trains my ability to kind of 即兴发挥, so to improvise in different situations. Another really important point is that it has to be void of distractions. There's no multitasking involved in this. You just have to sit down and really focus on the task at hand. Finally, I find it quite useful if this deep work is time bound, as in that I put it in a certain slot, a time slot during the day that I know that this needs to be done. So for example, after having been to the gym in the morning, sitting down at my desk and getting through my Anki Chinese flashcards in half an hour, for me is a very clear goal that's time bound, and also it will prevent procrastination too. The great thing is, once you've made yourself void of distractions and you're just focusing on one task at a time with no multitasking, and you're really putting your full effort and attention into something, you'll enter into like a flow state which will not only make what you're doing more efficient, it will also make it more enjoyable as you really get into the zone and get into what you're doing. Now, I'm not here in any way knocking any tasks that are perhaps inherently less cognitively demanding, for example, extensive reading or extensive listening. I think these things have their role to play in language learning as well. And obviously I recommend a lot on this channel to try and make use of spare bits of time here and there to like listen to Chinese podcasts, for example, when you're walking to work or driving, etc., or doing the dishes, doing chores around the house. Like, I think these are really good things to do. However, I think the point of this video today is I just want to make two main points. That one, you need to be scheduling some deep work to be an efficient use of your time in your language studying routine. And secondly, just trying to be less distracted in everything that we do in a world where there's so many distractions around us, I think is also really important and a real key takeaway that I got from Cal Newport. So guys, that's it for now. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and stay updated. I look forward to hearing from you guys soon. And thank you so much again. I'll see you later. Bye bye.